Hi everyone, this is a video for any college or apprenticeship equestrians who are doing their field check. Hello, I am Harriet Ty and I'm here doing a field check with the neighbour's big field.
And how big is this field?
This field is just under half an acre because it goes round to the left.
And if you had a horse that lived out permanently, would this be sufficient for one horse?
No, it's not, because one horse would need 2 acres and plus each individual horse would need an extra acre.
What type of gate is it?
This is a 5-barred wooden gate, and as you can see it is dropped hinge. It's a bit broken and you'd have to pick it up and slide it in, but once it is up it does work, and it is better for the gate to be opened into the field rather than out, because if you had a horse at the barge into the gate it would close it instead of opening it.
And what do you think about the approach to the field?
It's good because it's hard standing, so it's not muddy, but you do have this moss, so when it is wet it can be a bit slippery.
So you'd report that to the yard manager?
Yes, and the yard manager is already aware. We're going to get the fence sorted out because the pin is a bit wobbly, and we're going to get this jet washed up.
What water supply do you have in this field?
As you can see, we have this just water bucket by the fence line, roughly in the middle, and the field's nice and close to the yard, so I can just bring 2 buckets of water, and normally you bend your knees straight back and just lift them up and you can come to the field.
So how often do you check the water?
We will check the water daily to make sure it is clean, to make sure there is enough water in it.
And if the bucket became empty, it could get blown around. So what might you do to prevent that?
So we'd normally put a water bucket in a tyre so it prevent horses from kicking it or the wind from moving it, and then it doesn't break.
And if you had more horses in this field or they're turned out longer, what other options are there to provide water?
You could get a bigger trough that you'd have to put a bit further away from the gate, so centre of the fence line, and if it was an automatic you could put it so it could go between 2 fields.
And why would you have the water trough further away from the gate?
In the winter it may, of course you've got the gate and you've got the water, it'll become all muddy, and of course you can have backsplash from the mud into the water, and we don't want dirt in their water or any slip hazards.
What type of fencing do you have in this field?
So in this field we have post and rail, and as you can see the horses have been cribbing on the fence. And over here, this is, the manager has been let known. As you can see it is broken, but I'd still turn a horse out because it is still mostly secure in the field. And with the panels you can see they are nailed on the inside facing towards the outside, so similar to the gate. If a horse would barge, it'd hammer it more into the fence, into the post, instead of out. And then if we come over to this fence, it is the exact same railing. And another thing that the yard manager has been let known about, sticking out nails and a bit of repair as well, because they could, if a horse is like rubbing its eye or rubbing its bum, of course that could cause an injury. And you can see they've cribbed all the way along as well, and some more repairs will need to be done.
So we'd just get a hammer to bash those nails in before turning out?
Yes, we would.
What type of fencing do we have on this side of the field?
So here you have post and rail like we did on the other fence, but we also have cattle wire. Now cattle wire can be, these type of hole cattle wire can be really dangerous because it'll catch its foot or put its shoe on, and in panic it could rip it off and cause an injury.
What type of fencing have you got along this side?
So as you can see we have a hedge, but you should never have a hedge by itself, as in the winter it could die off and a horse could squeeze through, or if you have quite a greedy horse it can eat its way through. So as you can see in this little map, we have posts and railing fences going all the way through.
And what would you need to check the hedge for?
So you need to check like any poisonous plants that might cause harm to the horse. One of these plants could be an oak tree. In the fall the acorns will fall down and that could cause pollen
So what would you do if you had an oak tree in your field?
So normally in the autumn you could block it off with some electric fencing or one branch, so as the acorns fall, the horses can't get to it.
Can you name another poisonous tree you might find?
So there's a tree called a sycamore tree, and in the autumn they release helicopter seeds, and in the spring you can get saplings, and saplings are very toxic to horses, and within 24 to 48 hours the horse could die. So it's really important to keep up with making sure that these seeds don't spread about your fields, they don't grow.
And the helicopter seeds are just as poisonous in the autumn as the saplings. What do you think of the quality of the grazing?
Ideally this field should be rested. As you can see, it's lower than 2 inches and there's a lot of bald patches, so we
Grass seeds into the ground.
Okay.
You don't want to be pulling anything up because it takes longer to establish itself. So you could put down some grass seed, and then you'd allow the grass to grow until what height?
You'd allow it to grow to 6 inches. You could then put your horses back on it to graze, and when it gets to 2 inches then you'd let the field rest once again.
And you mentioned earlier about the sugar content. What's the difference between longer grass and shorter grass?
Longer grass has a lot less sugar, whereas shorter grass has a lot more sugar stored up.
So the longer grass is actually better for the horses. Yes. Do you have any weeds in this field?
Yes, as you can see we have a lot along the fence line, and these ones are stinging nettles. You can also see we have some thorn bushes over there, and these are just taking up too much space where there could be extra grazing.
Are there any other weeds in this field?
So as you can see we have some dock leaves, and then we have some thistles over here.
And how would you get rid of these weeds?
So normally you'd top them. So a tractor or digger would come through with a machine that would cut them about there, and over time eventually those weeds will die.
Are there any poisonous plants in this field?
There are a few more. As you can see we have some buttercups. Now if a horse were to eat a buttercup it could get buttercup burn around its muzzle. That could cause scabs and blisters. Now you take the horse out of the field for a few days and you get rid of all the buttercups, and then the horse's muzzle should be cleared in 2 to 3 days, and you can turn your horse back out.
And do you know of any other poisonous plants?
There is a plant called ragwort, and that is a tall yellow flower. It can reach up to about just over a metre.
And what would you do if you found any ragwort in the field?
You'd put some gloves on your hands so it doesn't burn or rub your hands, and then you pull it up by the root so it gets rid of the plant completely.
And then what do you do once you've pulled it out?
Then a lot of people dispose of them in different ways.
How would you keep a field clean of droppings?
So as you can see we have quite a few droppings in here. If it is a smaller field you can easily poo pick, but it's less convenient if you've got a bigger field, so you get a chain harrow and harrow all down and rest the field.
Is there any shelter in this field?
So in this field we have some sort of form of natural shelter, trees and hedges. But if there was no natural shelter in a field, you'd get a man-made built open front turnout shelter.
Do you think this field is suitable to use?
As here we only turn the horses out for about 4 hours, this field is suitable for a decent leg stretch and a little bit of a munch.
And if they were turned out longer, what might you need to do?
You'd need to either put them in a different field with more grass, or we could feed them some hay or haylage.
And if you were feeding hay in the field, how would you do that?
Well, you can get a hay manger that could go in, or tie some hay nets up if there is available space for that. Most little yards just throw it over the fence, but if it is muddy, most of the hay can get wasted.
So in here, if you were going to put down piles of hay and you had 2 horses, how many piles of hay would you put down?
You'd put 3, and you put them spread out across the fence line or spread out in the middle so they're not arguing over the hay.
And why do you put down an extra pile of hay?
Well, a lot of horses normally like switch and walk around, so then they're not on top of each other almost, and they've got plenty, they've got all the hay and nutrients they need. I hope that was helpful to anyone who is in equine college or apprenticeship doing their field check. Bye.